Good afternoon and welcome to our live studios on independent television and radio. On the program, Meet the Candidate, a special focus on candidates for the Parliament in the 2019 general elections. Of course, we started the series some time ago, just about a couple of days back, and today we are continuing with a series on Meet the Candidate on independent television and radio. My name is Sonny Duke Okosun, your host on the program. Today, our focus is on Oedo Federal Constituency, and just for the records, the candidates are Osage Omo Efosa, who is the ADC candidate, Prince Edobo Owosa, ADP candidate, Iyoha Osagbovo Tony, APC candidate, Patrick Omoyi, APP candidate, Ojo Idowu Deji Oke, CAP candidate, Osaro Waifo, DA candidate, Billy Moranoa, FJP candidate, as well as Ugbedi Hama Omoigi, the PDP candidate. But just now, we have with us in the studio the Action Democratic Party ADP candidate, Prince Edobo Owosa, on the program ITV Radio Meet the Candidate. Prince, thank you for coming on the program Meet the Candidate. How are you doing?
I'm very fine. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, as is a tradition on the program, we give the candidate the opportunity to showcase himself or herself, and then we'll be back to ask some follow-up questions, after which in the later stages of the program we open our studio lines so you can also call and ask the candidate question. Once again, from wherever you're watching or listening across the world, we thank you for joining us on the live studios of ITV Radio on Meet the Candidate. So Prince, the ball is in your court. Let's meet you. What is your manifesto? You are the Oredo Federal Constituency candidate of the ADP. We'd like to know from you.
Thank you very much. I want to say a pleasant good evening to every member from the Oredo Federal Constituency. My name is Prince Edobo Owosa, and I am running for the office of the House of Representatives, Oredo Federal Constituency. It is no news over decades, beginning from the Fourth Republic, 1999 to today, that we have suffered so many anomalies in the different sectors of our economy. And there's so many E's that have been deviled us from 1999 till today. We must also give credence and salute those who have contributed their quota in the development of our nation and in national building. We want to also salute their effort. But regardless of that, there are lots to be done, and there are things to be looked into. And it will suffice to say at this point that we must take candidly where we're coming from, to be able to appropriate what we're going to from where we are. If we cannot appropriate or know where we're coming from, we won't be able to tell where we're going to tomorrow. So I think it is high time we go back to the drawing board. And for me, I believe that as a student of history, we must be able to go back to the place where we began as a nation. Where did we intend to be over decades of our independence? And where are we presently? That two questions can only be answered if only we know where we're coming from. I want to say quickly that every sector of the economy, from the time of our independence, the founding fathers of our nationhood had 5 main national objectives for this country. And that 5 main national objective was to address the issues of every sector of the economy, ranging from educational sector, down to agri, trade and investment, mines and steel, power and energy, all the sectors, name it. There were 5 main national objectives the founding fathers of our nation had. And if you recall very vividly, 9 years into our independence, 6 years into being a republic, in 1969, there was a sovereign conference that was organized in this country during the second developmental plan. It was during that conference that was chairman by the then Nigerian representative to the United Nations in the person of late Chief Simeon Adebo that the 5 main national objectives was drawn for this country. It is in the view of those 5 main national objectives that our development as a nation was going to get to the crescendo, beginning from all the sectors of our economy. And what are those 5 main national objectives? Very quickly, we'll run through them. I think that is a 5 main thematic pillar we want to tell the people, the good people of Oredo Federal Constituency, that we're hinging our campaign on and believing that when they do vote for us and we do get elected, we're going to address the various sectors of our economy in view of these 5 main national objectives. One, it was the dreams that one day Nigeria will be a free and democratic society. How free are we today in our democratic processes? Well, in a few weeks we'll be going again to the polls. Questions that arise in the minds of legible voters is that, will the vote count even if the vote? Joseph Stanley once said that he who votes decides nothing, but the one who counts the vote decides everything. But these can be corrected if the right laws, these fears rather of our people, can be laid to rest if the right laws are put in place. We need to build institutions, and the only way to build these institutions are to make the right laws. And I think if the right laws are in place, these fears of citizenry going to the polls and wondering if their vote will count at the end of the day will be laid to rest. And no wonder the Latin Mass said, it will be jus, it will be remedium. He said, where there is a law, there is a remedy. Not forgetting that one of the definitions of democracy, or rather the definition of democracy, as postulated by Abraham Lincoln, said democracy is a government of the people, it is from the people, and it is by the people. It has to be the people-oriented at every given point in time. And if that is in any way deviated away from, then we're no longer practicing democracy. I think the legislature owes it as a duty to its people to make the right laws and uphold them so that this very sector or the sectors of our economy, our institutions, can be built. Secondly, what was the second main national objective the founding fathers had? It is that Nigeria will one day be a just and egalitarian society. He that must come to equity must come with clean hands demanding justice. And I think the hope of the common man is to run to equity. How much of our laws today are being upheld? How much of our laws today are being obeyed? How much of our laws today are being followed? And I think it is the duty of the legislature to rise and live to the meaning of his creed by building our institution. No one man should be greater than the law. It is until when there is justice we cannot have peace. And it is when there is peace we can attain the stage of egalitarianism. And we believe that one day, we may not have gotten there. Johnny Walker said, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Someday we will get to that point. Thirdly, is that Nigeria will be a land of bright, full of opportunity for his citizens. And I want to say this very quickly, that in recent time, very many conferences and seminars have been held on the issues of migration. I'm just going to run through them very quickly for time's sake. And they've presented it in somewhat a manner that it's like a phenomenon that is new. In as much as the hazards our fellow Nigerians have shown, the dexterity in crossing the Mediterranean Sea after going through the hazardous trip through the desert into Europe. And I want to say quickly that migration is a failure of governance, because it is a failure, it is as a result of the failure of where you are to provide you with an opportunity, so you go somewhere else. And it is not a new phenomenon, because if you remember very vividly, those of us who are familiar with the 19th century history, you will remember the Ladopadoni, when people left the Italian shores and waves of Irish men left Ireland to American continent, simply because Italy wasn't working, Ireland was not working. And so today you don't hear it anymore. Italians are in Italy, Irishmen are in Ireland. Nigerians need to be in Nigeria if the right opportunity is given, if the enabling environment to thrive. And I think that opportunity can only come up if those who we elect into governance knows what is right for us to do at every given point in time. And I want to say this very quickly, that our nation is so blessed to the point that I think that our pride of place among committees of nations cannot be undermined. And I believe Nigeria can get to that point, beginning from Oredo Federal Constituency. Fourthly, that Nigeria will have a great and dynamic economy. A few years ago, we celebrated us having the highest GDP in the entire African continent. But how did we slide back? Where did we get it wrong? Questions that many minds are asking, and we need answers. I think the legislature must rise up and give answers through the making of laws to further address these issues that is taking us back to the realms of precipice. And lastly, that Nigeria will be a strong and self-reliant nation. How strong are we? We are going again into the pools a few days from now. And so many of us are campaigning. And those who are the political actors tend to now divide us along the lines of tribalism. They want to divide us along the lines of religion, ethnicity, and race. Nigeria is one nation. We are one society. We are one fellow, brothers and sisters. I think what we should focus on are the things that binds us together than the things that keeps us or separates us apart. And I think that when we look in lieu of these 5 main national objectives, we'll be able to address the issue in the educational sector. We'll be able to address the issue in the agricultural sector. We'll be able to address the issue in the areas of mines and steel, power and energy. We'll be able to address every sector of our economy. And in no time, I will say this to you, that Nigeria can be one of the topmost and first world society. Thank you very much.
If you just join us, you're on to meet the candidates on independent television and radio. Today on the program, our focus is on Oedo Federal Constituency. With us in the studio live is Prince Edobo Owosa, who is the ADP candidate for Oedo Federal Constituency. We're still expecting other candidates from that constituency to meet us in the studio for today's edition of the program. In the last couple of minutes, the ADP candidate has been sharing some thought with us on his manifesto, what the situation has been, and how what he intends to do to change the narratives. Now, let's come back to you now. Beautiful presentation that you just had. What experience do you have? How much experience do you have that you think is good enough to be able to make laws and change the narratives about your constituency? Yes.
Okay, that's a very good question. I want to say that we can't just jump from nowhere. Like he said, you can't build something on nothing and expect it to stand. One of the principal things I think we all need, or anyone who wants to represent the people need to represent them, is that how much or how long have you lived with your people? And how well do you understand the sufferings of your people? And how well have you been with them, or for how long have you been with them? I'll say this very quickly. I was born in Oedo Federal Constituency. I grew up there. I had my entire educational life from that place. I understand what it means like growing up as a child. I understand vividly what it means like going through every stages of life and what our economy is presented to us as at that point in time. And I believe that is experienced well enough to be able to tell, because if you wake me up in the morning and you ask me what are the anomalies in the 12 wards that make up Oedo Federal Constituency, I should be able to tell you without the blink of an eye and tell you this is where we're coming from. This is where we are as a constituency. And this is where we intend to be in few years from now if 1,000,001 things are in place. And I believe that is well enough.
Okay. In terms of the knowledge that you have about the different wards, the 12 wards that you mentioned in Oedo Federal Constituency, what are you bringing on the table? Having understood what the challenges are, what the problems are, what are you bringing on the table differently from what already existed to be able to change the narratives about the people and then the constituency in general?
We must look at very quickly at this point in time, we must begin to now downsize our 5 main thematic pillars into different sectors of the economy. We'll begin with education, for example. Oedo is a cosmopolitan society. It is one of the most cosmopolitan local governments, so to say, in Edo State, where you have so many arrays of different people from different parts of the country. The question is, how well is our educational sector, and what laws today are strengthening the educational sector, taking Oedo as a case study? In recent time, you would recall that the high level of school dropout in the Nigerian society is quite alarming. And then what are those measures that are being employed today by those who represent us, who serve in the arm of government that ought to be our voice to the people? What are they doing about it? I'll give you this very quickly. I'll state this. You see, I went partially to Ambrose Ali University at the time, and the school fees we paid at some point in time in that school was affordable by our parents, who are just civil servants, predominantly. But today the story is no longer the same. If you take a case study of those who are paying school fees as of today in the tertiary institution, Ambrusali, it is quite alarming. What is the minimum wage of a civil servant? And if a man who is a civil worker is having 2, 3 children, how does he intend to address the issues of school fees? Now, if you come down from the tertiary to the secondary to the primary level in our constituency, you will discover that it is quite alarming. Talking about the health sector in Oredo Federal Constituency, well, I would want to say this, that apart from Central Hospital, which is government-based in Oredo, I think there's a need to look at community health development in our local government. Having few aids like ambulances is not going to help address these issues, and it's not going to take us anywhere further. Looking at trade and investment, you would also very well agree with me that Oredo houses the highest number of trade, small and medium scale enterprise. And what are we doing to aid these, to drive the process of development in our economy? I think there's a lot more we're ready to bring on the table to see how we can take the constituency from the level it is now to a crescendo, God willing.
Okay, I'm trying to understand the strategy that you have developed to be able to tackle this problem. For example, the education or the educational system or structure or challenges in Oredo Federal. What strategies have you developed? And then you talked about the health sector. What strategies have you developed to be able to tackle the health sector, having understood what the challenges are?
Okay, I will very well say this. You know, I began by saying something, quoted the Latin Mass, that said, ubi jus, ibi remendio. I said, where there is a law, there is a remedy. I'll quickly just throw an insight into that of the educational sector. Over the years, we've had benefits from the UBE system, the Universal Basic Education Fund, that comes straight from the Federation's account, and it comes straight to the state government, and there is SUBED. Now the question is, I want to ask, how well do we, what mechanism is being put in place to ensure that these funds are appropriately, judiciously utilized? I think there could be a look into this sector, because in doing that, we could improve the level, or we could reduce the number of school dropouts in Oredo Federal Constituency.
How do you intend to achieve that?
We would do that through legislative laws. First of all, one of the functions of a legislator, it is not just to make laws. There is another point that is called an oversight function. And it is in participating in oversight function, you know what laws you need to make to address that. Because if we do not make the right laws to build our institution, this is not about one man. Today you may be, tomorrow you will be gone. But we must begin to build institutions that will ensure that that which is meant for a purpose is judiciously utilized. And that is the beginning of development, if you very well ask me. For addressing the issue in the health sector, I'll say this very quickly. I mentioned a while ago that apart from Central Hospital Benin, that is situated around the houses of Saple Road and Ring Road, you will discover that we do not have community health center in Oredo. And taking one of the ward, okay, I think there is one predominantly located in Ward 2, but it is not furnished in date. It is not equipped, no medical personnel in Ward 2. Ward 2 as a ward in Oredo is almost as big as the other 11 wards put together.
So are you going to take that up as a responsibility?
We are taking that up as a responsibility.
How do you intend to, if you take that up as a responsibility, how do you intend to achieve, for example, furnishing that community hospital or primary healthcare center that you said it exists, but there are no equipment, there are no personnel?
We're going to begin by looking at the constituency project. We're going to begin by looking at the budget that is submitted to the National Assembly and how well it affects the good people of Oredo Federal Constituency. If, for example, I'm elected tomorrow to represent the good people of Oredo Federal Constituency, and I sit in the parliament and the budget is brought, I should be able to look at it and see what is being given to my constituency. I should be able to form a synergy with others to see how our community health center can be furnished. I should be able to liaise with other members of parliament to see if others can be even built in my constituency. It is all about lobbying and negotiation. And I think that is one of the ways we're going to address this and tackle this.
One of the major things that you talked about when you were giving your manifesto was the challenge of migration, using the case of Italy and Ireland. And you say right now, the Italians have since stayed in Italy, and the Irish, they've since stayed in Ireland. Unfortunately, the Nigerians are not staying in Nigeria. They seek for greener pastures abroad, taking the Sahara Desert and the Mediterranean Sea, which means you're deeply concerned about the migration problem in Nigeria, and particularly in Edo State and in Oedo Federal Constituency. What do you intend doing to checkmate this? How do you intend to address this as a problem in your constituency?
I think one of the ways we must do this is very simple. Like I said, why I mentioned that, or when I mentioned that rather, was when I was talking about one of the 5 main national objectives this country had. And under the dreams that one day Nigeria will become a land of bright, full of opportunities for its citizens. I think the reason why there's so much migration from our society is as a result of lack of opportunity. The 3 arms of governance must sit down and address the issue of, firstly, unemployment in our society. When there is large numbers of unemployed people, what do? It is failure of where you are to provide you with an opportunity. You move somewhere else. And I think if the government live up to its duties, you in the parliament should be able to check and balance the activities of those in the executive arm to ensure that there are job creations. And there are ways the government can look into the issue of unemployment and reduce drastically the numbers of those who are unemployed in our society. Year in, year out, we produce numbers of graduates in the hundreds. Question is, what sectors of the economy, or how do we intend as a government to absorb these people, to get them busy, to get them working?
Everybody is aware that year in, year out we produce graduates. How will Prince Edobo Owosa address that problem of unemployment?
I think liaising first of all with the executive arm to see how we can make that happen is one of our priorities. Secondly, when we also look at the way we can also encourage the small and medium scale enterprise. You know, not everybody is educated or a graduate. There are people who even though they are educated anyways, they want to start the small and medium scale enterprise. We can liaise with the Bank of Industry to see how those who are from our constituency are giving aids and grants to see how they can build their small and medium scale enterprise. That is one thing we can do in our own capacity as legislators. But away from that, we must be able to also address the issue not temporarily. We must be able to address the issue permanently by engaging the executive arm of the government and see how we can do a lot in job creation and that aspect of the economy.
Before aspiring to be the rep of your constituency, what would you say is the major contribution you have made to affect your constituents?
Okay, we will say this.
No, you.
Yes, I will say this.
Yes.
That's very good. That's a good one. I will say this very quickly, without ambiguity. I think I have done a bit of my own at a lower scale level. One, presently we have some persons who are seeing through school because we believe that education, no nation can rise above its level of education, according to Theodore Roosevelt. And I think one of the things we have done over the years is to look at how we can encourage those who are out of school and see how we can see them through school. Now, for small and medium scale enterprise, presently we're also doing a soft loan scheme, not to pay back, but like an empowerment scheme to see how we can encourage some few persons in our constituency. And lots more that we've been doing in recent years.
If you just join us, once again, we thank you for keeping a date with us on Meet the Candidate on independent television and radio this beautiful Friday evening. The candidate here on set with me is Prince Edobo Owosa, who is the ADP candidate. Others are still being expected, and we hope to get here soon before we call it a wrap on the program today. It's been giving us insight into his plans for his constituent if elected to represent the constituency at the National Assembly. In just a few minutes, our studio line will be opened so you can also call and be part of the program. We also have a WhatsApp number. You see all of that on the screen so you can be part of the program. Please be civil in your language, choice of words. Do not cast aspersion on anyone. Remember, we're not liable for anything that you say. It's entirely yours, and that's exactly why we're stressing that point. Whether you're listening to us on radio or watching the program on television or online, please adhere to these rules so we don't get into trouble with our regulators. That's on the lighter side. And now back to you, Prince Edobo Owosa. Your party, to some, is relatively known compared to what some would describe as the major political party, against the background of the fact that politics is about popularity, all right? how do you think that the status quo will favor your party in this election?
Like I did say a while ago, when giving the definition of democracy by Abraham Lincoln, that it has to be people-oriented. I want to say this very quickly, as against the backdrop of that insinuation. We were relatively new, but we are popular because we are feeding presently candidates at various levels of in various levels of the elections. We're feeding we have candidates for the state assembly seats. We have for the National Assembly, both for the House of Rep and for the Senate. And I think as a political party, we're one of the major contenders in this race. We will not want to classify ourselves as one of the third or one of the fourth political parties in this race. That would not be very correct to say. I think so far, in the last 1 year and few months, we've been able to make an impact in the political terrain of the state. And I think we're going further, given the opportunity. Elections is a game of number. The electorate will decide. It is not the party structure. Mind you, or do not forget to note that only 4% of those who make up the constituency at a given point in time are actually partisan politicians. The 96% from statistics are eligible voters. They are not part of any political party. And if you take that, you will discover it is the 96% who will decide at the end of the day. And I think among the 96%, we're having a good romance. Thank you.
Some want to say that your interest in politics, the attraction for you in politics, is because of the huge salaries, emoluments, and allowances that national legislators are being paid. How do you justify that, or what's your reaction to that?
That has been a question that has been asked in recent time by few journalists to those who are contesting. Well, if you also remember, one of the issues we've had in this present dispensation has been the issue of declaration of asset. And so many public officers today are having issues with the Code of Conduct Bureau, the Code of Conduct Tribunal, and we're having that. Now, there are ways we could address that. I think one of the ways we can address that is to do an open declaration, first of all. And those who are saddled, or the sector of government that is saddled with the responsibility of looking into the emolument for public office holders, I think they should come up with something to see how that can be reduced, if possible, drastically. So that service will be about humanity and not about self-aggrandizement.
Would you support that in the National Assembly? Would you support reduction?
Yes, that would be one of our major focus. And remember that we're going to be 360 in the Parliament. And at the end of the day, the highest number would win the day. But history will remember us for posterity, that we stood on this side during our campaign policies, and that we're implementing it when we get to the House.
Once again, we thank you for keeping a date with us on Meet the Candidate on ITV Radio Benin. Our studio line is 052-290-573. If you dial that number right now, you will be able to contribute to the program by asking the ADP candidate Oedo Federal constituency in the 2019 general election a question or two. As we said before, be civil in your language and go straight to the point and be as brief as possible because others are waiting. Then most importantly, do endeavor to turn down the audio level on your radio or television set to remove the echo so we can hear you as clear as possible. All right? Okay, and then we'll have the other number, which is for you to send a message on WhatsApp only. Hello, caller. Good afternoon. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Good evening, rather. Hello, good evening, caller.
Yes, Bishop Bishop from Sabongida Ora.
Okay, Bishop Bishop from Sabongida Ora. Thank you for joining us on Meet the Candidate. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Now, your guest made a statement that we do not have laws. That if we get there, we make sure that our laws are well enacted. But I put it to him that Nigeria, we have the best laws. But the problem is with the implementation. If we get to the National Assembly, how is it going to ensure that the laws we have, the laws that are existing, that they are well implemented? That's question number one. Question number two, although we have asked that, but you know, Nigeria is a country who make a honey. The problem we have here is that the politicians, they are the ones developing the money. For instance, in the Senate, you have their monthly salary is 250,000 naira a month. Then their allowance alone is 13.5 million. Let me now ask you. If it's there, and it's not so that it's only 750,000 naira will be receiving as its monthly salary, nothing like allowance.
Okay.
And that even this constituency project, that he will not even be the one to supervise it. Will he accept it? Thank you. God bless all of you.
All right, thank you, Bishop Esau from Sabongida, Ora. Of course, the questions are very clear, and I know that Prince Adobo will be willing to respond to those questions. But let's quickly take another one from one of our viewer or listener. I really don't know. Hello, good evening. Tell us your name. Where you're calling from. Go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Hello?
Yeah, good evening, Benedict.
Good evening. Who are we on to?
Yeah, this is Ben Stephen. I'm calling from Obero.
Okay, Ben, go ahead.
Yes, just like the last caller said, he said Nigeria has laws, and I won't put it to your guest, the studio, but we have laws in this country. Our problem is implementation. That has always been the issue we've been having in the country. I want to ask him a question. He has said a lot of things, but one thing he hasn't said is what he is bringing differently to the table.
Okay.
He has not really said anything new. This whole thing about we are going to engage the executives that need to do this. I think other legislators, they all do that.
Okay.
What new thing, what spectacular thing, what fantastic idea, or what new laws is he going to bring into the table that will change things? I mean, things that would really affect, into place. A law, for instance, that would come into place that could actually cause a drastic change or a paradigm shift in our educational system. For instance, a law that will actually cause a paradigm shift in the health sector. These are the things we want to know. I want to know from him. I want to hear his own point of view, not this general thing of being to engage.
Okay, Ben, I think it's well captured, the question that you asked. I will just go to Prince Dobo to respond to these questions, and I'll be back to take more calls. I believe you heard all the questions asked. Could you just respond to them?
Very quickly, my brother, thank you, Mr. Ben. In responding to Mr. Ben, I think I will be addressing the second issue of Bishop.
Okay.
He said we've got laws, very truly. You remember a while ago when I was talking about the educational sector. That's one of the questions Mr. Ben was particular about. You will observe that there is a UBE fund, and it is channeled to the State Universal Basic Education Board, SUBEB. And before it is channeled down to the primary purpose. Now the question is, in the movement of this fund, how do we appropriate that one or part of it does not go into thin air? And I think that having laws you are very correct, but we must look into the laws, how we can further ensure that these laws meet the very needs of the people. Development can only come when what is meant for a purpose is actually judiciously utilized for that purpose. And I think one of the adjoining laws we will make in the educational sector, the reform we will make in the educational sector, is to ensure that government largely funds education. Some days ago, some weeks back now, we're looking at the budget where government was complaining that they cannot fund education. And you can't expect me to sit down in the parliament, for example, and you are telling me that you are giving you are budgeting 109 billion for education, and while you are telling me also that you have expended 228 billion for feeding students in the society. How do you appropriate that you have spent 228 billion? How do we appropriate that? And how do you budget for education something far lesser than what you have expended for feeding alone? We're not going to get anywhere in anything called development and educational sector if we continue like that. And I think we must look into that very areas of education. Also, Bishop said we must look into the implementation
of the laws.
Of the laws.
Yeah. So there are several laws.
A while ago, I think myself and you were talking about that here. And I said, one of the primary duty of a legislator is that after you are finished making laws, passing budget, it is your duty to ensure that these laws or this budget that are passed are implemented. You must be able to make the various sectors, organs of government, live up to their responsibility. And that's one of the reasons why we have the legislature. And I want to promise you, I want to tell you, sir, that viewers at home, that our nation can be better. It depends on the legislature. Thank you.
What are you doing differently? Was one of the questions that
so,
Ben asked. So let me remind you, what are you differently from what every other person is doing or has done? What are you doing for? What will you do differently?
Very quickly, I'm going to say that because that skipped my mind. Talking about the educational sector, that was where Mr. Ben was directly concentrating that question to. I will just run through that very quickly. We must look into, first of all, the CIA. To be able to address the number of school dropouts in our society. The CIA Amendment 2007 can actually fund the budget for education. The 2% that is gotten from there will go a long way funding the budget of education. And I think one of the things we'll do differently in the educational sector, other than setting up mechanisms to checkmate the funds meant for education through the UBE funds, we will also look into how we generate the fund to fund our educational budget. And we'll look into the CIA Amendment 2007 Act, we'll look into various other sources where we can fund our education. I want to also promise you very quickly that on my own part as a legislator to be voted into power, we will also personally look into how we can contribute our quota to the society. It doesn't have to be the government all the way. There has to be individual combined effort to this, for us to get to that place called Eldorado. Our
studio line is still open, 052290, as well as the WhatsApp number. Just look at these two numbers, dial the first one, which is the call line, and be part of the program. If you can't get through to us, maybe because the call, the line is jammed, you can send a WhatsApp message to the number on the screen right now and right away. Hello caller, good evening, tell us your name, where you're calling from, then go ahead. Hello, good evening. Kate or Gate, or what's the name? Looks like we're having a bit of a challenge.
Hello?
Okay, we have our next caller on the line. Good evening, tell us your name and where you're calling from. Just tell us your name and where you're calling from, then go ahead with your question. Please endeavor to turn down your audio level, either on your television or radio, depending on which of them you're following the program with or from. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. What's your name? Hello, good evening. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Please ensure you turn down the audio level on your TV or radio to remove the echo.
Good afternoon.
Yes, you're live on Meet the Candidate. Good evening. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Thank you for taking my call.
Okay, Sonny Yadosa from Airport Road. Please go ahead.
First of all, I want to thank ITV and thank the moderator, that is yourself.
Okay.
First of all, I want to say that it's becoming a very worrisome situation. These things when we are saying that we say we have the capacity to support us. I've been listening your advert and the time for the game to sit and the time the program will take up. At the end of the day, you can tell you to not value this debate. Something like this cannot happen in America, where you are supposed to come and tell the people why you should be voted for. There's a slap on the face of where they say they want to go and represent. I think that the people are listening and they will take note of that. And I want to appreciate your guests for coming. And one of the things I would have loved to know is not, if you listen to what you're saying here, the place, you have the whole, it's easy to say, because of your low question, what you are saying, you can get my vote. And I want you to expatiate more on the how you are going to ensure that you will be different from what you are saying. And the privilege to try to reach either at the state level or the federal level to see the man that represents me. It's always easier to go to the house and meeting than to reach this person. Are you going to be different? And lastly, are you going to ensure that whether your party is at the federal or the state, also regardless of what you know, that don't get about vote, you don't go to politicians' pocket or the Nigerians for the right people. Can you give us a calculated, a printed document that I can be looking at when you totally get the opportunity, what you will do better? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonny Iadosa from Airport Road. You heard this question. I'd like to get your response to them.
Very quickly, Mr. Sonny, thank you for those concerns you've raised. First of all, I want to say, in addressing that first concern, I want to say to you that if you've ever come across our publications during the course of this our campaign, electionary campaign, you will discover that there are phone numbers on our flyers. And that phone numbers are the direct phone numbers of your would-be representative, I, Prince Edobo, sitting down. And I want to also say this to you, that accessibility to governance or to those who have governed us has been alarming in recent years. That is one of the things we want to make different. Because if the government, if leaders who lead us are too far enough from us and they cannot be assessed, I wonder how they know the sufferings of our people. This is one man who has always been among you and will always continue to be among you. I think if you lay hold on our flyers, it begins from there. You will see our direct phone numbers. That are my direct phone numbers. And that accessibility will continue. Because it is most critical to let it continue, because that is how we can ensure that we do the right thing in government. The second question was, you raised the concern that you want to see one of our public documents. I think if wherever you are on Airport Road, if you get to the Vedite Book Market, our secretariat is situated right there, and you will have a copy of that document. I'm always there at the secretariat, certain hours of the day between 10 to 12 before going out for campaigns. I think I will be delighted to hand it over to you in person. Thank you. Okay,
we have a question from WhatsApp platform. It says, what are your plans for education and the youths in your constituency? I believe in the course of the presentation and interaction so far, those questions were responded to. But I also like him to, maybe for emphasis, reiterate what he said for the benefit of the viewer or listener that raised that question.
Apart from the fact that we talked about the CITA amendment out as of 2007 as one of the ways.
What does CITA represent? Okay,
it means the company income tax.
Okay.
2% of that, the amendment are 2% of that tax across the federation through the FIROS, that's the Federal Inland Revenue, is remitted to the government for the funding of education. Like I did say a while ago that Theodore Roosevelt once said that no nation can rise above her level of education. Our citizenry must be educated, given the opportunity to be educated. One of the things I personally would drive for is that we must make sure that our educational institution run by the government becomes a pride to us. If you see today, most of the people in Oredo federal constituency choose to put their children in private-owned institutions rather than government-owned institutions. As a growing child, I went to a government-owned institutions. And I tell you that institutions that were controlled by the government gave better learning to us as at that time. But today, it has moved from that trend. Where did we get it all wrong? We must go back to the drawing board. For the youth in our society, I think we're not different from the youth. One of the cardinal manifesto of our party, or the party where I am running under, is that the D in the ADP speaks about the democratic empowerment of the youth and women, ways to empower our youth. It is not through, as a legislator, coming to buy you some materials, like sewing machines and all that. That is not empowerment. I think empowerment goes beyond there. And one of the ways we would empower you is to look at the drive in the different sector of the economy, creating an enabling environment for you not to just give, for me not to give you fish, but for you to learn how to fish. And in doing that, we'll begin from the educational sector. Those who are not educated will form a synergy with the Bank of Agric to ensure that those who in the agricultural sector is giving the aids and grant to thrive in the agric. We'll engage with the Bank of Industry to ensure that those in the small and medium scale enterprises get what they need to grow our middle class. I think these and lots more we'll be able to do. You will get a copy when you get
okay. Our studio line is still open, 052-290-573. That line right now, that number right now.
Hello.
And put your question out. We also have a WhatsApp number on the screen. Use that as well, just in case you can't get to us via the phone. Yes, hello, good evening, caller. What's your name?
Good evening. My name is Prince Imeani, calling from Ekosodi.
You're calling from Ekosodi?
Yes.
Okay, please go ahead with your question. And I'll crave your indulgence to please speak up a little bit.
Okay, I want to ask the candidate there.
Yeah.
He was talking about the difference of government school and private school. I think he's a married man and he has a kid. Please, I want to know if his son or daughter attend any of the government schools.
I'm trying to understand your question. I don't know if Prince got the question.
I got it.
Because it goes out.
I got it. I got it.
Yeah, so what's the question?
His question is, he wants to know if my child attends a government-owned controlled institution or a private controlled institution.
Okay.
I want to say this very quickly to you, sir, that for now I do not have a child yet, but I believe in God will bless us one day with one. And when that time does come, I want to see a country where these children will attend government-controlled institution, and I give you my promise.
Okay. We have more questions coming from the WhatsApp platform. Yeah, we'll take those questions. But hello, caller. Good evening. You're live on the program. Meet the candidate.
This is Pastor Samuel.
Pastor Samuel, where are you calling us from?
Lagos City.
From where?
Lagos City.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
I want to know the manifesto on agriculture. Yes, on our law and the constitution and the constitution of Nigeria. I want to know what the party is planning to amend from, because there is some confusion on this, especially if you look at our House of Reps now, that's the argument. And they have been talking about many things, but they have never mentioned anything about agriculture. What did they have for the farmer?
Okay.
So what did they have?
Okay. I won't be surprised if this caller is a farmer. So the question is straightforward. What do you have for the farmers? What's your plan for agriculture?
A while ago, I think we made mention of agric as one of the sectors we will be looking at when we get to the National Assembly. One of the things we have in mind is to properly engage with the Bank of Agric rather, to see how our farmers can be granted aid. And I tell you this, we are blessed with arable lands, vast arable lands. And if we utilize this land, or we create the enabling environment to give our farmers the grant needed for them to thrive, I think in no time Nigeria will become one of the greatest exporting nations in the world, beginning from Oredo Federal Constituency. We are promising you that for agric, for farmers in Oredo, we will ensure that the Bank of Agriculture gives a lot of grant and live up to the meaning of his creed. Okay. That is our promise.
We have a message from our WhatsApp platform. It says, please let the candidate tell Oredo people why he's quite different from other candidates and what he will do with the constituency funds. That's coming from Esosa. What makes you different from the other candidates, even though they are not here now?
I want to thank you very much, Esosa, wherever you are writing from. But you see, while I spoke a while ago, in addressing that question of what makes me different from other candidates, I want to tell you this. We must concentrate first on the things that binds us together, because that is how we can succeed as a nation. We cannot, at this point, begin to engage in campaigns of calumny because we are going in for an election. I think if we all bring ourselves together to the point of unity and love, to be our brother's keeper, we will get to that crescendo called development. And what we will do with the constituency fund, I said it and I will say it again from this platform, that which the constituency fund was made for, it will be utilized for it. And that is one thing we will leave as a trademark when we get to the National Assembly. Okay,
question again from our WhatsApp platform. It says, what will happen to our health? What will you do about pipe-borne water? This is from Samson Amadin Arimi.
For pipe-borne water, Mr. Samson Amadin, this has been a growing concern in my heart, because if you've been following the trend of event, a few months ago, there was a shaking in the Earth Cross. And for those who are very familiar with that aspect of science, you discover that could be as a result of proclivities of borehole. Years ago, as a growing child, I discovered that I had pipe-borne water. There were lesser boreholes, but today there is proliferations of boreholes. Failure of governance to its people. I think we need to look back into the issue of pipe-borne water again. Government must take up that responsibility quickly so as to avoid the natural disaster that is pending. And as a matter of fact, government must look into potable water for its people. It is one of the responsibility of every government to its citizens. And I want to assure you that I personally will take that up as one of our cardinal points when we get to the National Assembly. Thank you.
Okay, you mentioned Central Hospital. I'm sure that's where this question is coming from. It says a lot of people cannot be walking to Central Hospital. You know the situation of the transport system. Why not work out a way for healthcare centers, and how do you hope to settle it? I'm sure I'm trying to make meaning of this question, but I'm sure you can take something out of it.
Yes, I mentioned a while ago that one of the wards in Oredo, Ward 2 precisely, is bigger than the 11 other wards put together, and it has got one health center in one of the houses. If you go through a ward there down to the 58 communities, you will discover that it has got only one health center that is not even equipped and it is not functional. We must look into this issue of community health development. Okay. Because I mentioned it before while I was addressing, or while I was giving an address on my manifesto. And I said, we must look at community health development. Setting up one ambulance to Central Hospital is not going to help, because the distance between different communities in Ward 2 to Central Hospital Ring Road is quite alarming. Okay. And we must look at that. It's a promise.
Okay. Finally, if you lose this election, would you accept the results?
Come again, sorry.
If you lose the election, would you accept the results?
Like I said a while ago, that democracy has to be about the people at every given point in time. Under a free and fairness in this electoral process, we will accept the result, whatever comes, free and fairly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that has been our program for this time, and the guest has been the ADP candidate for Oedo Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives. I'd like to thank very especially Prince Adobo Owosa for being a part of the program. We'll keep you posted on subsequent editions of the series of Meet the Candidate on independent television and radio. Prince, many thanks again for coming on the program.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you here.
And to all our viewers and listeners across the world, I want to thank you for being a part of the program. Do have a great weekend and happy new month. Bye for now.